elders, brothers, sisters, friends. I guess there will be many occasions in the future when we can pay appropriate tribute to Pandit Reepu Daman Persaud. But today, allow me, on behalf of the People's Progressive Party, to say thank you to a very special person, that is Pandit's wife, Indra, and the family, for taking care of someone so dear to us in the PPP family. I know that Pandit was adored, loved, and respected, not only here in Guyana, but right across the world. He's made a tremendous impact on the lives of so many people in personal ways. But he had his struggles too. And in quiet moments, he spoke of those struggles. And this family, particularly his wife, he brought home the struggles and the things that bothered him to this family. And so much cruelty, vilification, sometimes of the crudest kind, has taken place in our politics. And sometimes we don't understand the impact that has on the family of the people in political lives. This family has had to endure that vilification of Pandit, someone so revered and respected. Just 2 weeks ago, a newspaper practiced that to some of the most extreme end. They had a wonderful tribute to Pandit, and I suspect that the tribute that they paid now, when he passed, is what the truth is and what they really feel. But 2 weeks ago, the self-same newspaper said some of the nastiest things about him that were untrue. But this family has had to endure. And I've seen that firsthand, how troubled he was by these nasty things that were said. And it was through you, Indra, and the children that he found the strength to persevere. And I seen the love in this family that sustained him throughout his illness. And I will miss coming on Diwali night and Pagwa night and spending long hours talking to him and to everyone there. And I miss poking fun at Pandit and his quiet, witty, knowing tolerance when I did so. And I miss his dignified calm in the face of turbulence. I miss the light in his eyes when an old Hindi song touches his heart. And he would even try to squeeze in Vindi's Hollywood, Bollywood Dreams, an old song just for himself. And sometimes he says, you see, I got them to change the stuff. And we'll all miss him for his unreservedly sharing of knowledge. And we'll miss him for his civility in uncompromising struggle. And we'll miss him for the courage that he displayed in personal and societal life. I have been very, very fortunate in my life to have met two persons. Dr. Chelly Jagan, I remember growing up in the village, young enough not to remember a word of what he spoke, but old enough to remember the excitement of him coming to the village. Everyone busy, the woman in the village cooking, my father who was a cynic, getting excited. One of the few times I see him get excited. and then going out and listening to Chedi Jagan. And I got infected by the excitement too. Maybe it might have been the promise of the food that they served afterwards. But my biggest achievement in life, I think my greatest accomplishment, was to grow up and become a finance minister to a legend, an icon, Chedi Jagan. And the second person was Reepu Daman Persaud. As a young teenager, he too engendered the same sort of excitement when he came to the temple to read the Yaj. And what going there and listening to him, and what differentiated him from so many others who preached the scripture, was his interpretation and his dynamic way of relating not the rituals of our philosophy, of our scriptures, not the fatalism that some pandits often preach because of the belief in reincarnation. But he sought the scripture out to distill the lessons, the philosophy. And he pointed out that our scriptures engendered people to take an active part in life, to change their own lives. His interpretation, his preaching of the scriptures is what stood out and inspired so many young people, and so many who were in the struggle at that time to change things in this country. And then again, later growing up and working with him and becoming close to him was the second thing, as I said, in my life that stands out. I guess these two individuals, they imbued the PPP with a lot of their personal characters because they played such an important role in the formation of the party. They were never bigoted. They were broad-minded individuals. That is why our party today remains open to people of all races, to people of all religions. We've never, ever, I grew up in the PPP, and I've never gone to an official meeting where people's race or religion were discussed as factors for mobilization or keeping them out of the party. And they went through a lot of the struggles. I heard Chandra when she spoke a bit about the struggles in the colonial era. And when the colonial masters tried to homogenize everyone by conversion, even to change names. But there was other types of assault against people of East Indian origin. It doesn't mean that there were not some brutal assaults against people of other origins, slaves, etc. But the Indians in particular, the British commissioned a study, and the study concluded that Indian people were rural, they didn't value education much, so it was not necessary to build schools in these rural communities for them. And what bothers me today is that we seem to have, in the new politics of Guyana, a resurgence in a hidden way of some of the same feeling. This country is important, and Pandit believed in that for all of the people of our country, regardless of their race and their religion. He believed that every child of every race and every religion should have equal opportunities. But recently, 38 persons were, because their names are of East Indian descent, were used in a case to say that the People's Progressive Party, because they're employed in the public service, is practicing discrimination, that we're giving people of Indian origin preferences. Now, a lot of those people have served over 30 years in the public service. Some joined the public service even when we were in the opposition. But the only reason their names were on that list that Luncheon is very familiar with, because he faced the brunt of it, is because of their origin, East Indian origin. What is the message to people of East Indian origin? If you're PPP or PNC, if you're Christian, Hindu, or Muslim, if you're a sugar worker or a professional, if you're urban or rural, once you're of Indian origin, you should keep your children home. Don't send them to school. The same colonial message. Because if, heaven forbids, they become qualified and they get a job and the PPP is in office, then it has to be not because of their merits, but because of their race. That was the lesson of that whole episode. And today, the person who did that is a leader of one of our parties. It is also sad to note that even when we did not have democracy in Guyana, Chandra, I pointed out about Pandit being the deputy speaker in the period from 85 to 92, and even at other times. We had the deputy speaker. Today we have the largest single party in the parliament, and we can't have even the deputy speaker. Pandit was deeply pained by the crudity in parliament, the departure from every parliamentary norm that is known. How can we can't just come here and look at him and talk about how wonderful he was, which we all know he was. How are we going to ensure that the things he fought for, that Chetty Jagan fought for, that every person in this land should be dignified and be treated in a dignified way regardless of their race or their religion, that we continue to maintain that? How do we do it? That's the only way we pay fitting tribute to this wonderful man who's lying here before us and who gave his life for struggles and for people. So we have work to do, and you have to be part of it. Don't sit down. If you sit down and you become indifferent, people are going to take what we earn through blood and sweat and tears, the freedom in this country from colonial rule, and the freedom to think and to talk and to walk this land again, because those freedoms were not always here. How do we preserve those freedoms? We need every one of you to think about that and be part of it. So, Indra, thank you, and thank everyone in the family. I wish to, on behalf of the people of this land, for giving us Pandit. He made such an important difference in all of our lives. Thank you.
Excellency, President Donald Ramatar, former President Mr. Bharrat Jagdeo, Prime Minister Mr. Samuel Hines and Mrs. Hines, Speaker